Hello, please excuse the look. I wasn't planning on recording today or really doing anything today. Well, I was planning on streaming today, but I'm tired and I have this headache. But I just wanted to share a few little thoughts, and I don't know if this will ever get uploaded anywhere for anything, but here we are. Here I am. Maybe you aren't here. If it's not uploaded, you're not. But I was looking into what to read next. I've recently got a brand new Kobo, which is an e-reader like a Kindle, and I love it. And I was trying to work out what to read on it next. One thing I love about this is that it's got buttons to change the page, so I was thinking I could hold it and change the page whilst I'm got a free hand to click for the RuneScape event currently on. You can use it either way because it flips the screen, which is so cool. Anyway, I'm not here to rush talk about that or anything. I mean, maybe in the future because I do love it. But I saw that the Midnight Library apparently was quite viral on TikTok a few years ago. I don't use TikTok, so I don't know about that sort of thing. Yeah, the Midnight Library, and it seems to have lots of good reviews. On the book cover, it's got Such a Beautiful Book by Zoe Ball, BBC Radio 2. And there's Beautiful by Jodie Picoult, Uplifting. It doesn't say who that's by. I don't know who Joanna Cannon is, but she said it's amazing. New York Times said it's absorbing. Independent said it was thought-provoking. Although all of those quotes is just one word. So it could be taken out of anything. It could say, this is the least thought-provoking book I've ever read, and they've just gone, thought-provoking, they said it. But anyway, it sounds good, the storyline. Nora's life has been going from bad to worse. Then, at the stroke of midnight on her last day on Earth, she finds herself transported to a library. There she is given the chance to undo her regrets and try out each of the other lives she might have lived. Which raises the ultimate question, with infinite choices, what is the best way to live? This actually sounds similar enough to a book that I've been writing that I am extra intrigued by it. Because obviously, well maybe not obviously, but the books we write are sort of the books we want to read, and it's that sort of thought process, and it would be interesting to see what another author's thought process was for something. It's seemingly quite a short book. Amazon says it's like 300 pages or something, so I should be able to read it fairly quickly. I've just finished reading Project Hail Mary, which is 900 pages long in 3 days, so I think it'd be a nice little book to read. But I've seen that it's a bit like Marmite. People either love it or they hate it. Most of the people that I watch on YouTube hate it. So, but also most of those people specifically like romance or romantic fantasy, and I said previously I'm multi-genre lass, so we'll see, or at least I'll see how I like this. Other thoughts is borrowing Mary Poppins. One thing I discovered with this Kobo is that apparently Kindle's the same. So borrowing books on Libby is absolutely fine, you can read them on your Kobo, but only if the Kobo store has the exact same version of it, which I guess makes sense, but it's kind of disappointing because I wanted to read A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, if I remember that and pronounced that correctly, it's been a while, and I can't because it's not the same thing. Yeah, I think I'm going to try out Midnight Library, and then I might try out Mary Poppins because it's got both on the Kobo store. So I'm going to give that a little bit of a go, and I'll check in every now and again, I guess. Oh, each chapter will be a different life. Ooh. Okay, I'm only 18 pages in, and I have comments. Something bad has happened. And it said only the sertraline stopped her crying. So, sertraline is an antidepressant, but why would that stop her crying? Maybe it's a side effect I haven't heard of. I've been on sertraline. I know people who've been on sertraline. As far as I'm aware, none of them had that side effect. It might be a rare side effect, but it just seems weird. This is so difficult to read. It's so like real and pain and snippets right now. Like it's going from painful conversation to painful conversation, chapter to chapter, which is all like 8 pages long. And like 8 Kobo pages long, not book pages long. Hello, so it is the next day. I'm all cozied up. Just want a little update on how this is going. First of all, on my Kobo, the page numbers are different. So there are 480 in the book. Not sure if I said that before. I'm on page 273. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through, almost ish. I'm over halfway. Anyway, I've got about 16 minutes left of reading time that I can do. So I'm going to do a bit of reading now. Oh, I did want to share some of my thoughts of it so far when it gets to 273. I've come across a couple of mistakes. Currently it feels like a mix between Quantum Leap, The 5 People We Meet in Heaven, and Game Changer. I'm rather enjoying it. I understand some of the criticisms that I saw beforehand. I'm not sure if I 100% agree, but I definitely get it. So it's the next day, which you might not be able to tell because I'm still wearing this because it's cozy. I have some thoughts on the book, some more thoughts, but I think I'll leave them to the end. The question is whether I'm enjoying it. And currently, I don't think I'm actively not enjoying it, but I think I might be more enjoying the process of reading more than what this is, which is really upsetting because I think it could have been done so much better. I'll get into that a bit more at the end. Maybe my thoughts will change a bit. I think at the moment it depends on the ending. I have a thought of how I think it's going to end, which would be a good ending except for the fact that I've been seeing it coming. If it is that ending, then I mean there's 2 endings that I'm thinking between, but there's one that I really think is most likely, and if it is that, it's going to be very sort of, I read this just to see that the thing that I thought would happen. But currently I am on page 372 out of 480, so I'm definitely going to finish this today, and I'm still going to be doing my RuneScape at the same time. So see you in a bit. I guess it's not going to be long until I'm done and I'm talking about it. Okay, so it turns out there are actually 455 pages in this, not 480. The rest of it is the new book from Matt. I don't actually know how to pronounce the surname, and a little preview of that. I've read 95% of it because the other 5% of the book is another book. That seems quite a long amount to me, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. I have some annotations that I did that I might read out a bit of. That took me 5 hours with an average minutes per session of 27, which is an average 2 pages per minute. I don't know how that compares to how long I normally take to read pages per minute on Kobo, because this is only the second book I've read on here. 5 hours is actually a bit more than I was expecting it to take. I thought it'd probably take about 4 hours, but I have also been doing RuneScape at the same time and all sorts of things, so it's not really surprising. I can't remember for sure what I've said in between reading stints currently, so I may end up repeating some things, so please bear with me if that's the case. I think I've said before that it was about halfway through that I was like, what this is like is a cross between A Wonderful Life, which I haven't seen fully all the way through, but I know the vague gist of it, The 5 People We Meet in Heaven. I can't really explain how it's like that, it's just that sort of vibe at a few bits in the library itself. And the other one is Quantum Leap. It's also a lot like a book that I've been writing, as I said before. So some of the problems with it, I am very well aware of how that happens when writing something like this, because I definitely have that problem. I was like, I'm writing this for fun, I'm definitely never going to get it published because this isn't how books work in a way. I am sort of thinking that I might do it a little bit different later on so it does work, but it was just sort of for me and some friends, and I was like, if you're enjoying this then I'll keep sending you stuff when I finish it. And they're like, yeah, I'm loving this. Not in a way friends say, like, I think they actually were enjoying it, because it's quite skippy, which is sort of the nature of this sort of book. I've said before, what this is that the Midnight Library is like between life and death, and she's trying out all these other lives, so she's correcting regrets. So she regrets having given up swimming, so she looks at a life where she didn't give up swimming, and she regrets this and that and the other, and she looks at all those lives basically. So there is quite a skip jumping. The backstory of how she ended up in the Midnight Library understandably is skip jumping, because that's not what the story's about, that's just the backstory. So I understand why that's all skippy, but it's not great. In that way it's a little bit like Sword Art Online, but only a little bit, which the creator of Sword Art Online said that I think he regretted having written it like that, and I believe is going back and writing it without the skips, but I read that ages ago, so that might not be the case anymore. So I definitely understand how that happened. It feels at times a little clumsily written. It sort of feels like it was a reasonably early draft and it's not quite finished yet, but it's come out anyway. I don't know if there was a deadline, and then like whether that actually is the case where it wasn't meant to have come out of this draft, but they've run out of time in a way. There was a weird issue that I found, which I don't think I annotated, but they said that every life she goes into, she'll start at 1 minute past midnight, and then there's the whole thing of, yeah, but 1 minute past midnight Greenwich Mean Time is different times in other places. So when there's a time when she wakes up at a time that isn't that, I'm like, oh, where is she now? And no, she's in London, so it should still be 1 minute past midnight. So it's just that sort of thing where it's like in a different draft that should have been corrected, but it wasn't, and so it's just wrong. There are also a few other little small mistakes, and there's a clumsy bit where there's lots of the word then in a sentence over and over and over again, but that's a minimal thing that just sort of adds to the idea that this might have been an earlier draft than was intended to come out. Another mistake I found is there's a bit that says Nora sat down, and then in the next paragraph it says Nora just stood there, but there's no her getting up from sitting down, so it's a little bit of a weird one where it's like, well, how is she standing there when she's sat down? It doesn't make sense. It is a problem that I've seen in various other books, that they've just forgotten that a character has done something, so it's not uncommon, but it's not great. With all those bad things I said, it's not only bad, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some good bits. I'm going to read a few annotations of some good bits. There's, even these bad experiences are serving a purpose, don't you see? Which is great in life generally, but it's also very apt for what I've been saying about this. There's some cool lines like, every second of every day we're entering a new universe, which is just a bit of fun. There's one bit that she's writing a book in one of her lives, and it says about what her word count is, and I really feel like that's probably the word count in the book at the time, and I really want to check that, but oh gosh. I completely lost track of what I was saying when she came in. I guess in editing, if I work out what it was, I might add it in. I've looked through all the other annotations I did, and I think all of the other ones have too many spoilers in it. I said at the last check-in that I wasn't really sure if I was enjoying it per se, and I enjoyed the bit from that a lot more. I think the ending is really good. I feel like this book might have been written around the idea of the ending more than the rest of it. That might be why it's a bit skippy, because it's just sort of like, this is the boring bit that I wasn't thinking about before I started writing. But maybe I'm wrong there too, just sort of my thought as an author and as having seen how other books work and stuff. Like famously, Twilight was, it came from a dream, and then in the book, if you read it, after where the dream is, the storyline's a lot more fleshed out. So it's sort of like whether Stephanie was sort of like, here's where it is and here's what would happen afterwards, and then she's like, oh, I have to do the backstory, and go back and does the backstory. Overall, I think I will rate this a 3 star. I'm not great at rating, as I've said in previous videos. My thought with that is I enjoyed it. I'm unlikely to read it again, and I might recommend it to other people, but it would be a little bit iffy whether I would or not. One of the criticisms that I saw online before I read it was that it reads like someone who doesn't have depression, has never had depression, feels like depression is. I could see that a little bit with a few bits here and there. I think I said before about how she apparently can't cry because she's on sertraline, which again might be a side effect that I just haven't heard of. In fact, let me check that. Oh no, okay. It's not officially on the list of side effects that I can see, which is why I didn't know it was a side effect. But there are people who say that they can't cry when they're on sertraline on Reddit, so I'm going to take their word for it, that it is a side effect that just isn't listed in the sheet of side effects like side effects normally are. Which probably means just that not enough people have reported that to the doctors, which, to be fair, who does actually bother reporting side effects to the doctors, especially when they're on especially when they're suffering from some sort of depression that they're on sertraline for. It is written as if that's a very well known side effect of sertraline, maybe it is in other circles, and the author has said that he did have depression, or does have depression. It says about his recovery with depression. So the whole it's like depression written from someone who's never experienced it thing is not quite right. Not really a spoiler because it happens within the first few chapters. It's the start of the premise of the book, is that that's why she's at the Midnight Library and all that. As someone who has attempted as well in the past, the feelings running up to that are pretty on point, and all the other stuff with that, it's pretty much like that is, lots of it is, that's how it felt like for me at least. Obviously I don't speak for everyone. I'm assuming if the author has also attempted, that's probably his experience as well. So it's not at least completely wrong, because it doesn't feel completely wrong to me. Maybe it's other people's depression that doesn't fit that, and so they're thinking this doesn't feel real, but it does to some people. Sorry, this is falling in my face. If this editing goes well and everything, I do think I want to make more videos like this. This is the sort of video that I watch, so I wanted to give a little shot at it, a more reading vlog rather than just a review. I do have ideas of how to make it better, don't worry. I know that the same angle isn't that great and everything, and hopefully in future I won't constantly be wearing this, but it's so cold at the moment. I mean, it's not that cold, but it's the change from being really hot to being cold. But please let me know if you enjoyed this style video. Let me know if you've read The Midnight Library, what you thought about it. I said at the beginning that apparently it's a bit like Marmite, you love it or you hate it. I'm neither. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'll read it again. That's all, and I am a rereader. So that's why I've said a 3, which may not be completely in line with all my other ones, because I'm not good at sticking to, to ratings like that. Okay, please like and subscribe if you did enjoy this, and maybe you'll see me in the next one. Until then, bye.